Commander Olivia Grant took a deep breath as she stood on the bridge of the USV Horizon. This was it. After centuries of dreaming, decades of planning, and years of building, humanity had finally broken the light barrier. The stars were no longer just distant points of light. They were destinations. "All systems nominal, Commander," said Chief Engineer Daniel Powell. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed his excitement. "The Alcubierre drive is performing, better than expected." Olivia nodded. "Good. How's our ETA to Nexus Station looking?" 3 hours, 17 minutes, replied Navigation Officer Paul Weber. He tapped at his console, bringing up a holographic display of their destination. Nexus Station hung in the void like a massive metal flower, its petals unfurled to welcome ships from across the galaxy. Across the bridge, Communications Officer Samantha Wright removed her headset, her expression troubled. "Commander, I've been monitoring galactic chatter. We might not get the welcome we're hoping for." "Explain," Olivia said. "The established species, they're calling us primitives and latecomers. There's debate about whether we should even be allowed to dock." Olivia frowned. Humanity had known they weren't alone in the universe for almost a decade now. First, contact had come in the form of a small scout ship that had entered Earth's solar system, observed for 3 days, and then departed without communication. 6 months later, a formal message arrived, acknowledging Earth's existence and providing coordinates to Nexus Station when they were ready to join civilization. "They've known about us for years. They invited us," said Science Officer Patrick Monroe, looking up from his station. "No," Olivia corrected. "They acknowledged us. There's a difference." She straightened her uniform. "Well, ready or not, here we come." 3 hours later, the USV Horizon approached Nexus Station. The massive structure dwarfed their ship, making Earth's pride and joy look like a toy by comparison. Ships of various designs moved around it in orderly patterns, some so strange they barely registered as vessels to the human eye. "Opening hailing frequencies," Samantha said, broadcasting our arrival message in all formats provided in the welcome packet. A moment passed. Then another. "They're scanning us," Daniel reported from engineering. "Multiple beams, some technologies I can't even identify." Finally, the main view screen flickered to life. A being appeared, humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin was a pale blue, its eyes large and completely black. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move in sync with the words. "USV Horizon of Earth, you are cleared for docking at Bay 94. Prepare for customs inspection. Any violations of galactic quarantine protocols will result in immediate expulsion." The screen went dark before Olivia could respond. "Well," she said after a moment, "not exactly a red carpet." The docking procedure went smoothly enough. As the airlock sealed and pressure equalized, Ambassador Liam Carter joined Olivia at the main hatch. He was the oldest member of the crew, at 58, chosen for his decades of diplomatic experience on Earth. "Ready to make history, Commander?" he asked. Olivia managed a small smile. "History was made the moment we broke the light barrier, Ambassador. Now we're just introducing ourselves to the neighbors." The airlock hissed open, revealing a reception committee of 4 different alien species. Their body language was impossible to read, but there was no mistaking the weapons at their sides. "Welcome to Nexus Station," said one being, its body tall and insect-like. "I am Security Chief Vexnar. You will follow me to decontamination, then to your assigned quarters. The Council has generously agreed to hear Earth's petition in 3 station cycles." "Thank you for your welcome," Ambassador Carter said, stepping forward with a practiced smile. "We bring greetings from all of humanity. This is a historic day for our people." Yes, Vexnar clicked, already turning away. "Another species joins the community, most historic. This way, please." As they walked through the station's wide corridors, Olivia couldn't help but stare. Beings of every shape and description moved about their business. Some floated rather than walked. Others seemed to phase in and out of reality. And the technology, displays that appeared in mid-air without projectors, doors that opened into spaces that couldn't possibly fit within, The station's dimensions. They're so far beyond us, Daniel whispered, his engineer's eyes wide with wonder. Technologically, perhaps, Olivia replied quietly. Let's reserve judgment on everything else. The delegation was led to a large chamber where 3 beings sat at a raised platform. Olivia recognized the insignias from their briefings, representatives of the major powers, the militaristic Voran, the ancient Eldar, and the technologically advanced Meridians. The human delegation may approach, announced a small floating device that seemed to serve as translator and facilitator. Ambassador Carter stepped forward, delivering the speech he had prepared for months. He spoke of Earth's history, its hopes, for the future, its desire to learn from and contribute to the galactic community. He spoke well, with passion and dignity. When he finished, there was silence. Then the Eldar representative, a being of indeterminate gender with luminous skin that seemed to shimmer with its own light, leaned forward. Your species has barely left its cradle, it said, voice soft but dismissive. You have achieved faster than light. Travel, yes, but it took you far longer than most. Your technology is crude. Your understanding of cosmic principles is elementary at best. Come back when you've contributed something of value to the galactic community. The Voran representative, whose massive frame and red scales gave it a dragon-like appearance, laughed, a sound like grinding metal. The Eldar speaks with too much kindness. Earth is a backwater. Your vessels are primitive. Your weapons would not threaten a Voran hatchling. You have no place at the council table. Only the Meridian representative, a being that seemed to be made of flowing silver liquid, offered anything resembling encouragement. All species begin somewhere. Return to your world. Develop. Evolve. In a century or two, perhaps then we can speak of membership. Ambassador Carter stood his ground. With respect, we did not come seeking charity or special treatment. Earth offers unique perspectives and capabilities. You offer nothing we have not seen 100 times before, interrupted the Voran. This audience is concluded. As the human delegation prepared to leave, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed along the walls. The council members exchanged looks of what Olivia could only interpret as fear. What's happening? She asked the nearest station official. The being, a small, furry creature with 6 eyes, looked at her with what might have been pity. The scourge has been detected at the edge of the system, it said simply. You chose an unfortunate time for your arrival, human. Most unfortunate indeed. Chaos erupted on Nexus Station. Aliens of all species rushed through the corridors. Some headed for their ships, others to designated shelter areas. The council members had already disappeared, whisked away by their security teams. Commander, we should return to the horizon, said Security Chief Frank Miller, his hand resting on his sidearm. Though the humans had been allowed only minimal weapons on the station, Frank never felt comfortable in unfamiliar territory. Olivia watched the panic around them. Ambassador, what's your assessment? Liam Carter's diplomatic experience showed in his calm demeanor. This could be an opportunity, Commander. In crisis, true character is revealed. Olivia nodded. Communications, get me a channel to whoever's in charge of station defense. Samantha worked her portable comm unit. After several attempts, a harried-looking Meridian appeared on the small screen. Its silver face rippled with what might have been stress. Human vessel, this is not the time. All non-essential ships are ordered to clear the docking bays for military vessels. We want to help, Olivia said firmly. The USV Horizon is armed and ready to assist in defense operations. The Meridian's form rippled again, this time in what could only be interpreted as dismissive laughter. Your primitive vessel would be destroyed in seconds. Clear the bay immediately. The connection cut off. Olivia looked at her team. Back to the ship. Fast. As they hurried back to the horizon, they passed viewports that showed the space around Nexus Station. Large military vessels were moving into defensive formations. Their designs varied widely. The angular, red-hulled ships of the Voran, the organic-looking vessels of the Eldar that seemed grown rather than built, the sleek silver darts of the Meridians. Back on the horizon, the crew rushed to their stations. Olivia took her command chair, bringing up the tactical display. "What exactly is the Scourge?" asked Patrick Monroe, already scanning with the ship's sensors. "Unknown," replied Samantha. "I'm accessing the station's public information network. Not much detail, just warnings and classified tags. Whatever it is, they've encountered it before." "Commander," called Daniel from engineering, "station security is ordering us to undock and clear the area." Olivia frowned. "Comply with undocking, but we're not running. Take us to observation position Alpha 3, let's see what we're dealing with." The Horizon smoothly detached from the station and moved to a position that gave them a clear view of the approaching threat, while staying outside the main defensive perimeter. The ship's sensors picked up multiple objects entering the system at incredible speed. "Getting visual now," said Patrick. The main screen showed the approaching Scourge vessels. They were black, not just dark-colored, but seeming to absorb light around them. Their shapes were irregular, almost organic, with no visible propulsion systems or weapons ports. "They don't match any design philosophy we've seen so far," noted Liam, who had joined Olivia on the bridge. Admiral Xerax of the Vorin appeared on their communication channel, his scaled face contorted in what might have been anger. "Human vessel, you were ordered to leave the system. Your presence here is unwelcome and interferes with our defense strategy." "Admiral," Olivia replied calmly, "we're maintaining a safe distance from your operations. We're simply observing." "What could primitives possibly contribute to our defense?" the Admiral snarled. "If you will not leave, then stay out of our way." The communication ended abruptly. "Charming fellow," muttered Frank Miller. Dr. Natalie Howard, the ship's xenobiologist, studied the approaching vessels with intense interest. "Those movement patterns, they remind me of something. The alien defense." Fleet engaged the Scourge. Energy weapons flashed across space, creating beautiful but deadly light shows. Missiles and other projectiles streaked toward the black ships. But something was wrong. "The weapons aren't having much effect," Patrick reported, watching his sensor. "Readings. It's like the energy is being absorbed." On the screen, they watched as a Vorin cruiser took a direct hit from a Scourge vessel. Instead of an explosion, the ship seemed to dissolve, breaking apart as if eaten from the inside. "My God," whispered Liam. More alien ships fell. The defensive formation began to break. What had started as an organized military operation was quickly becoming a rout. "Their tactics don't make sense," said Olivia, studying the battle. "They're not targeting the station or the biggest threats first. They're just consuming what's in their path." Dr. Howard snapped her fingers. "That's it, Commander. They move like deep-sea predators from Earth's oceans, like a shark following a blood trail or a swarm of piranhas during a feeding frenzy." "They're hunting," Olivia realized, "and they've hunted before." As the battle continued, 3 Meridian civilian transports became cut off from their escape route. The ships were small, clearly not military, and filled with what must be civilians evacuating the station. "Those transports will be overtaken in minutes," reported Patrick. Olivia stood from her chair. "Navigation, plot an intercept course. Engineering, prepare for maximum burn." "Commander?" questioned Frank. "The Admiral ordered us to stay clear." "Those are civilians, Chief," Olivia replied. "And I don't answer to Admiral Xerax." The Horizon surged forward, its engines pushing to full capacity. As they approached, they could see the Scourge vessels closing in on the transports. "Open 'em, Wep." "Channel to those transports," ordered Olivia. "Tell them to follow us precisely. We're going to create a corridor for them." Using maneuvers developed for Earth's naval warfare, the Horizon positioned itself between the Scourge and the civilian ships. The human vessel was smaller than most of the alien military ships, but it was quick and agile. "Shields to maximum," called Olivia as they took fire. The ship shuddered under the impact. 50% power to forward shields," reported Daniel. "They're hitting us hard." The Horizon continued its protective run, drawing fire while the transports escaped. When the last transport was clear, Olivia gave the order to withdraw. As they turned to retreat, something strange happened. The Scourge, vessels that had been pursuing them, suddenly broke away as if repelled. They're backing off," said Patrick in disbelief. The Horizon limped away from the battle, its hull scarred and systems damaged. The crew worked frantically to make repairs, while on the bridge, they tried to understand what had happened. "Why did they break off?" asked Liam. "We were an easy target at that point." Lieutenant Eric Summers, who had been silently monitoring the ship's external sensors, spoke up. "Sir, ma'am, I think they're afraid of our blood." Everyone turned to look at him. "Explain," said Olivia. Eric pointed to his readings. "When we took that hit to Section 7, we had a minor hull breach. The emergency protocols sealed it, but not before some atmosphere vented. And, Jackson was injured in that section. His blood was exposed to space near the breach." Dr. Howard rushed to look at the readings. "He's right. The Scourge vessels nearest that section recoiled immediately. After the exposure, it's as if they found our biological material repulsive or harmful." Olivia looked at the tactical display, where the battle still raged. Alien ships continued to fall to the Scourge. Then she looked at her injured vessel and her brave crew. "Get us back to Earth," she said finally. "We need to report this immediately. I think we just found humanity's contribution to the galactic community." As the Horizon limped away from Nexus Station and prepared for the jump back to Earth, Olivia watched the battle fade from their sensors. The aliens had mocked humanity's late arrival to the stars, but perhaps they had arrived at exactly the right time. The USV Horizon arrived back at Earth orbit with damage to over 30% of its systems. As the ship docked at the orbital station, medical teams rushed aboard to treat the injured crew members. Commander Olivia Grant watched from the bridge, her uniform still stained with blood from helping in the medical bay during their return journey. "Commander," called a young officer, "General Peterson is waiting for you in the conference room. The full Joint Chiefs are there too." Olivia nodded. "Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes." She took a moment to collect herself, reviewing the data they had gathered during the encounter with the Scourge. What they had discovered was either humanity's greatest advantage or a strange coincidence. Either way, it needed to be properly presented. The conference room was filled with Earth's military leadership. At the head of the table sat General Allison Peterson, her gray hair cut short and her expression serious. "Commander Grant," she said as Olivia entered. "Your preliminary report was interesting. We'd like to hear the full story." For the next hour, Olivia explained everything that had happened at Nexus Station. She described the initial cold reception from the alien species, the sudden attack by the Scourge, and most importantly, the strange reaction the enemy had shown to human blood. "We believe there's something in our biological makeup that repels them," Olivia concluded. Lieutenant Summers noticed it first and Dr. Howard confirmed the readings. General Peterson leaned forward. "And you're certain this wasn't just a tactical retreat on their part?" "As certain as we can be without further testing," Olivia replied. "The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. The moment human blood was exposed to space near their vessels, they broke off their attack." The room fell silent as the military leaders considered the implications. Finally, a scientist who had been sitting quietly at the back of the room stood up. This was Ryan Mitchell, the head of Earth's Xenobiology Division. "If I may," he said, "there could be a scientific explanation for this." General Peterson nodded for him to continue. "Earth's evolutionary history is unusually violent compared to what we've learned about other worlds," Mitchell explained, moving to the front of the room. "Most habitable planets in our galaxy have stable environments that allowed life to evolve, gradually with fewer extinction events and environmental pressures." He brought up a display showing Earth's timeline. "But Earth has experienced 5 major mass extinctions. Our planet has swung between ice ages and greenhouse periods. Life here had to adapt constantly just to survive." "What does this have to do with the Scourge?" asked one of the admirals. "Everything," Mitchell replied. "Human blood carries iron that binds with oxygen, a system that evolved to efficiently power muscles in a high-gravity environment with an oxygen-rich atmosphere. Our immune systems fight thousands of pathogens that have co-evolved with us. Our cellular structures are hardened by millions of years of survival against predators, parasites, and disease." He looked around the room. "Earth wasn't late to the galactic stage. We were forged in fire while other worlds evolved in peace. General Peterson stood up. So you're suggesting that what the aliens see as our primitive nature is actually our strength? Exactly. Mitchell nodded. If the Scourge is some kind of cosmic predator, as Dr. Howard suggested, then humans might be the only prey in the galaxy that evolved alongside similarly efficient predators. We might be the only species with natural defenses against them. The implications settled over the room. For a moment, no one spoke. Then a communication officer burst in. General, we're receiving multiple distress calls from the alien diplomatic corps that visited Earth last year. Their home systems are under attack. Within hours, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Scourge had launched a full-scale invasion of known space. Nexus Station had fallen. The mighty Voran fleet was in retreat. Meridian colony worlds were going dark one by one. The ancient Eldar were sealing their core systems behind powerful shields, abandoning their outer territories. And then something unprecedented happened. A small delegation of alien representatives arrived at Earth, not with the condescension they had shown before, but with desperation in their eyes. The meeting took place in the United Earth Government headquarters in Geneva. Olivia was asked to attend as the only human who had witnessed the Scourge in action. The Eldar representative, whose luminous skin now seemed dimmed with exhaustion, addressed the human leaders. We were mistaken in our assessment of your species. The Scourge has devastated our outer colonies. Our weapons are ineffective. Our shields fail before their attacks. The Voran military attaché, normally proud and aggressive, stood with his head slightly bowed. The Galactic Council asks for Earth's help. If you have some defense against these creatures, we must know it. General Peterson looked at the aliens coolly. The same council that denied us membership? That called us primitives? The Meridian representative's silver form rippled anxiously. We acknowledge our error. Please, billions of lives are at stake. Olivia caught the general's eye and nodded slightly. This wasn't the time for payback. General Peterson's expression softened. We will help, not because you ask, but because it's the right thing to do. The next days were a flurry of activity. Scientists worked around the clock to understand why human biology repelled the Scourge. Military leaders developed strategies based on the limited information they had. Engineers began modifying Earth's small fleet of space vessels. In her lab, Dr. Howard made a breakthrough while working with alien scientists. It's the iron, she explained during an emergency meeting. The Scourge evolved in environments without free iron. To them, our blood is like acid, and it's not just the iron, it's our entire biochemistry. We're toxic to them. Commander Grant proposed a radical plan. Modify Earth's vessels with a defensive system utilizing synthesized human biological material as a repellent coating. It was a desperate gamble, but Earth had always specialized in desperate gambles. We'll need volunteers, she explained. Blood donors, tissue samples. We'll need to create a synthesized version that can be applied to our ship's hulls. Will it work? Asked General Peterson. Ryan Mitchell nodded. The theory is sound, but we'll be learning as we go. As the plan took shape, news came in of more systems falling to the Scourge. The aliens who had once mocked Earth now watched in silence, as humans willingly donated blood and tissue samples for the war effort. Medical centers across the planet became collection points as humanity prepared for a fight unlike any they had faced before. In orbit, the first test vessel was coated with the synthesized biological compound. From space, it looked as if the ship was painted a dark reddish-brown, the color of dried human blood. It's not pretty, Olivia said as she watched the vessel from a viewport on the space station. No, agreed Liam Carter, who had remained her steady advisor through the crisis. But neither is survival. 3 weeks after returning from Nexus Station, Earth was ready to launch its defense fleet. As Olivia prepared to take command of the flagship, she paused to look back at her home planet. The blue-green world that had shaped humanity's evolution now sent its children to defend the very species that had dismissed them. Earth wasn't late. she whispered to herself, echoing Mitchell's words. We were right on time. 6 months after the attack on Nexus Station, Earth launched its defense fleet. 27 ships, led by the newly commissioned USV Defiance, broke orbit and prepared for their first faster-than-light jump. Captain Kevin Ward stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching as the final preparations were made. All ships report ready, Captain, said his first officer, Linda Bennett. Her voice was steady, though Kevin knew she felt the same mix of fear and determination that gripped them all. Very good, Kevin replied. Signal the fleet. Jump on my mark. The fleet of Earth vessels looked strange compared to the elegant alien ships they had seen. These were functional rather than beautiful, armored rather than streamlined, and each one bore a distinctive red-brown coating that had earned them a nickname among the crew, the Bloodstained Fleet. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Mark. Space twisted around them as the Alcubierre drives engaged. The stars streaked and blurred, and then they were somewhere else. The Procyon system, home to a Meridian colony world that had sent out a distress call 3 days earlier. All ships accounted for, reported the tactical officer Greg Nelson. Sensors detecting multiple contacts, confirmed Scourge vessels, at least 30 of them. On the main screen, they could see the black ships moving through the system. Several were clustered around the colony world. Others were pursuing the last remaining Meridian defenders, sleek silver ships trying desperately to evacuate civilians. Open a channel to the Meridian commander, ordered Kevin. A moment later, a silver face appeared on screen. The Meridian looked surprised to see humans. This is Captain Ward of the Earth vessel Defiance. We're here to help. Pull your ships back and regroup behind our formation. The Meridian seemed confused. Your vessels are... What is that coating? Something the Scourge doesn't like, Kevin replied simply. Trust me. Fall back now. As the Meridian ships retreated, Kevin turned to his tactical officer. Battle Plan Alpha. Let's see if our theory holds. The Earth fleet moved forward in a formation that would have seemed chaotic to the disciplined alien military, not the elegant formations of the Voron or the mathematical precision of the Meridians, but adaptive, unpredictable, and ruthless. It was a formation based on Earth's long history of naval warfare, designed to provide maximum flexibility. Scourge vessels changing course, reported Greg. They're moving to intercept. Hold steady, Kevin ordered. Wait for them to get close. The bridge crew watched tensely as the distance closed. No one knew for certain if their defense would work in actual combat. The tests had been promising, but this was the real thing. The first Scourge vessel approached the outer edge of the Earth formation. Then something remarkable happened. It slowed, seemingly hesitant to come too close. It's working, whispered Linda. Kevin allowed himself a small smile. All ships advance. Push them back from the colony. The Earth vessels pressed forward. When one of the Scourge ships came too close to the USV Relentless, it visibly recoiled, as if touching something painful. They're vulnerable to our hulls, Kevin said. Exploit that. Force close encounters. The Earth ships began actively pursuing the Scourge vessels, which were now attempting to retreat. It was an incredible reversal, the predators becoming the prey. The USV Defiance closed in on what appeared to be a Scourge command vessel. The black ship tried to evade, but Kevin had studied predator behavior on Earth. He anticipated its movements. Prepare for impact, he warned. Then he gave an order that would have seemed insane just months ago. Ram them. The Defiance surged forward, its blood-stained hull making direct contact with the Scourge vessel. There was no violent explosion. Instead, the alien ship seemed to disintegrate on contact, breaking apart as if dissolved by acid. Target destroyed, reported Greg, his voice filled with disbelief. Similar reports came in from across the fleet. The Scourge vessels were falling back, seemingly unable to counter the Earthship's approach. 3 hours later, the battle was over. The remaining Scourge vessels had fled the system, leaving behind wreckage and a saved colony. The Earth fleet had suffered damage but no losses. As the Defiance orbited the Meridian colony world, Kevin received a transmission from the planetary governor, a silver being whose form shimmered with what might have been emotion. "Captain Ward," the governor said, "the people of Procyon 3 owe you our lives. How did you drive them away?" Kevin considered how to explain. "Let's just say that humans evolved alongside some pretty nasty predators of our own. We learned a few tricks. Later, in the fleet's temporary command center established on Procyon III, a delegation of Voran military officers arrived to observe the Earth vessels. Kevin watched as they examined the hull of a shuttle, their scaled faces showing a mixture of disgust and fascination. One Voran commander approached Kevin. "Your ships," he said, looking at the dark stains across the hull. "They're covered in a derivative of our blood," Kevin confirmed. "We're what your ancestors would have called apex predators. Our entire evolutionary history is written in blood, both our own and that of what tried to kill us." The Voran seemed taken aback. "We thought your world was primitive because it was peaceful. Because you had not yet achieved the technological advancement of other species." "Earth is many things," Kevin replied. "Peaceful isn't one of them. Our history is filled with war, disease, natural disasters. We've been fighting to survive since before we stood upright." The Voran studied him with new respect. "Perhaps that is why your people alone can fight the scourge." Word of the victory at Procyon spread quickly. The Eldar, watching from their secured worlds, sent messages requesting Earth's assistance. The Meridians offered technology exchanges for more of the blood ships, as they were now called. Over the next month, Earth forces liberated 3 more systems. Each victory built momentum. Kevin's fleet grew as more ships were completed and sent from Earth. The unique coding was refined, becoming more effective with each iteration. In his quarters aboard the Defiance, Kevin reviewed the latest reports. Images showed Earth vessels, their hulls now a deep red, moving confidently through space that had once belonged to the Scourge. It was a sight that would have been unimaginable when humanity first reached the stars. His communication officer called over the ship's system. "Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command. General Peterson wants to speak with you." Kevin accepted the call. General Peterson's face appeared on his screen, looking tired but determined. "Captain Ward, congratulations on your successes," she said. "But we've just received intelligence from our alien allies. The Scourge is massing for a major offensive. We believe they're adapting to our advantage." Kevin felt a chill run down his spine. "Where are they heading, General?" "Based on their current trajectory," she replied grimly. "They're heading directly for Earth." Earth prepared for war like never before. Every available ship was coated with the red-brown biological compound. Orbital defense platforms were hastily constructed. The planet's surface buzzed with activity as people prepared for the possibility of invasion. Captain Kevin Ward's fleet raced back to Earth, pushing their engines beyond safe limits. Behind them, they left liberated worlds and grateful aliens. But none of that would matter if Earth fell. In orbit around Mars, the combined forces of Earth met with their alien allies. Ships from the Voran, Meridian, and even a few from the reclusive Eldar gathered in formation. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in Earth's solar system. On the bridge of the USV Defiance, now serving as the command ship for the entire operation, Kevin met with the alien commanders. Their faces showed a mix of determination and fear. "The Scourge fleet will arrive in approximately 12 hours, he told them, pointing to the tactical display. "Our intelligence suggests they've developed some kind of countermeasure to our biological defense." Admiral Xerax of the Voran, who had once dismissed humans as primitives, now listened with respect. "How is that possible? Your blood compound was completely effective just weeks ago." "They evolve quickly," explained Dr. Natalie Howard, who had joined the fleet as their chief xenobiologist. "Like any organism facing a toxic environment, they adapt or die." "So our primary advantage is gone?" asked the Meridian commander, her silver form rippling with concern. "Not gone," Kevin replied. "Reduced. We'll need to be smarter, more aggressive. We can't rely on just one trick anymore. As the final preparations were made, a message arrived from Earth. General Peterson's face appeared on the main screen. "Captain Ward, I've just come from an emergency meeting of the United Earth Government," she said. "We've voted unanimously to offer full protection to all refugee ships entering our system. Any species fleeing the scourge is welcome here." Kevin nodded. It was a remarkable gesture for a planet that might soon be fighting for its own survival. "I'll inform our allies." When he relayed the message, the alien commanders seemed surprised. The Eldar representative, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "When we first encountered your species, we saw only your youth, your technological limitations. We failed to see your strength." The luminous being bowed slightly. "Consider the Eldar your allies, not just in this battle, but for as long as our civilizations exist." Similar pledges came from the others. In the face of extinction, old prejudices were set aside. The galaxy was uniting under the most unlikely of leaders, the late-arriving humans. The scourge arrived precisely when predicted. Their fleet was massive, hundreds of the black ships emerging from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. But they looked different now. Their surfaces were covered with a strange crystalline structure that seemed to shimmer and shift. "They've armored themselves," Dr. Howard observed, studying the sensor readings, "creating a barrier between their bodies and our biological compound. Then we'll just have to hit them harder," Kevin replied. He opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, battle formation Delta. Remember your training. Be unpredictable, be aggressive, be human." The battle began with an exchange of long-range weapons. Energy beams and missiles streaked across space. The scourge ships advanced steadily, seemingly confident in their new protection. When the first direct contact occurred, it became clear that something had changed. An Earth vessel rammed a scourge ship, but instead of disintegrating, the black ship merely shuddered and continued fighting. "The coding isn't working as well," Kevin said, watching the tactical display with growing concern. "We need a new approach." Dr. Howard had been studying the data from the front-line ships. "Captain, look at this," she said, pointing to her screen. "Their armor isn't consistent. There are gaps, especially near what we think are their sensory organs." Kevin immediately understood. "They can shield themselves, but not completely. Target those weak points." The order went out to the fleet. The battle shifted as Earth and Allied ships began focusing their attacks on specific areas of the scourge vessels. It was more difficult than the earlier battles, requiring precision rather than just close contact. Hours passed. Ships were lost on both sides. The scourge pressed closer to Earth, their numbers still overwhelming despite the combined fleets. Best efforts. On the Defiance, Kevin received a direct communication from the ground. It was Olivia Grant, now promoted to Admiral and coordinating Earth's final defenses. "Captain, we're activating Plan Omega," she told him. "All civilian ships are evacuating to the bunkers on the far side of the moon. We're moving all essential personnel underground." "We'll hold them here, Admiral," Kevin promised, though he wasn't sure if that was still possible. As the battle reached its critical point, with the scourge breaking through the outer defenses, a young ensign on the Defiance made a discovery. "Captain," she called out, "I've been analyzing their communication patterns. The scourge ships are all linked to one central vessel, that one." She pointed to a larger black ship near the center of their formation. Kevin studied it. A hive mind? Or just a command ship? "Either way," said Admiral Xerax, who had joined them on the bridge after his own vessel was damaged. "It presents a target." A plan formed quickly. The remaining Earth ships would create a diversion, drawing away the scourge defenders. Meanwhile, a small strike team would approach the command ship in the most heavily coated vessel they had, the original USV Horizon, which had been retrofitted for combat. Commander Linda Bennett volunteered to lead the strike team. "The Horizon is smaller, faster. We can get close while they're distracted." Kevin nodded grimly. "This might be a one-way trip, Commander." "For Earth," she replied simply. The plan was executed with precision born of desperate necessity. As the main fleet engaged in a ferocious battle, drawing the attention of the Scourge Armada, The horizon slipped through the chaos. On the bridge of the Defiance, Kevin and the others watched the small blip that represented the horizon as it approached the Scourge command ship. When it made contact, there was a moment where nothing seemed to happen. Then, a strange ripple passed through the Scourge fleet. Ships began to move erratically, some colliding with others. The coordinated attack faltered. "They did it," whispered Dr. Howard. One by one, the Scourge vessels began to retreat. Some seemed to simply shut down, drifting in space. Others fled at maximum speed. Within an hour, the solar system was clear of the enemy. The cost had been high. Many ships and lives had been lost, including the brave crew of the Horizon. But Earth had survived. 1 year after humanity's first contact with the galactic community, Admiral Maria Nelson stood before the assembled representatives of the Galactic Council. The chamber, once filled with mockery for human primitives, now fell silent with respect as she spoke. "Humanity didn't develop in the gentle cradle many of your species enjoyed," she explained. "Earth is beautiful but merciless. We evolved not just alongside predators but as predators ourselves." She gestured to the viewport where Earth vessels patrolled alongside alien ships. The human vessels still bore their distinctive coating. No longer a desperate measure but a symbol of Earth's unique contribution. "You mocked our late arrival to the stars," she continued, "but we weren't late. We were exactly on time. When the galaxy needed soldiers who understood death intimately enough to fight it, Earth answered the call." The council chamber erupted in applause as humanity took its place among the stars. Not as conquered primitives, but as guardians whose evolutionary crucible had prepared them for this exact moment. On the bridge of the newly commissioned USV Horizon 2, Commander Olivia Grant watched the ceremony from orbit. She thought of all they had lost and all they had gained. Earth was no longer alone in the universe, no longer dismissed as primitive. "Communications Officer Wright," she said, turning to Samantha, "set course for the outer colonies. We have allies to protect." The ship's engines flared to life, its blood-stained hull gleaming against the darkness of space, a warning to anything that threatened the peace of the galaxy. Humanity had arrived.